Good evening, morning, afternoon, freaks and geeks. This is Reluge. Apparently, I've been covering the A1 situation very well. It seems like I do a good job at covering things. So it's like I've got like a list of people I want to cover. I want to bring something new to the table. But one person I've been wanting to do a piece on is Jim Sterling, aka Stephanie Sterling. Nothing bad though. I wanted to do like a good cover on it. But I was unsure where to start. I could start with like her site and maybe critique her videos. But then I found this. A video called Are You Okay, Jim Sterling? Yes, the short answer is yes. Yes, she is. She's doing just fine. In fact, you might say that she's doing better than when she was Jim Sterling. Now, to preface, I have not watched this, but the fact that he called her Jim Sterling, I'm going to make an assumption that is like an educated assumption that they're probably going to be misgendering and the name that using their dead name throughout this video. So before I get into it, I want to say, when I say Jim Sterling, I'm talking about Jim before the transition. When I mention Stephanie Sterling, I'm talking about talk about her after her transition. Because this transitioning is important. It's important for the mental stability of the person. And I will get into all of that in a different video. So for now, let's see what this guy has to say about Stephanie Sterling.
I am Dr. J. Today on Checking In on Bad Video Essays, we get to look at an individual who at one point I watched fairly regularly.
Bad video essays. So, it's a bad video essay, but you title it Are You Okay? It seems like you're checking in on Stephanie Sterling's mental condition, but bad essay? You're already starting off wrong.
Grew steadily annoyed by, and only now feel pity for.
I could see annoyed by, because Stephanie Sterling has a different viewpoint than everyone else, apparently. Everybody got pissed off that she rated the bold Zelda game 7 out of 10 instead of 10 out of 10. And I mean, what do you expect? She reviews games, and she says what's on her mind. She is going to knock down a couple points, and personally, I rarely give things a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 indicates that there is no room for improvement. It's the best that it can be. So I can't think of any game that would qualify as a 10 out of 10.
If you clicked on this video, you probably don't even care which video we're looking at today, because frankly, every current year Jim Sterling video is the same and leads to the same question. Are you okay, dude?
That's the wrong question to be asking. The right question to be asking is, are you okay, girl? And the answer is yes.
Familiar, Jim Sterling has had a long-running career in games media, having worked for Destructoid, then The Escapist, before going independent on YouTube. I first became aware of him when he was at The Escapist, as one of their video hosts, after he made a guest appearance on the Co-optional podcast. From there, I would keep watching him for a few years, as after seeing him interact with Total Biscuit, he appeared to be another person standing up for the consumer. Yet, for reasons I can't fully recall, I slowly stopped watching him.
I don't want to put words into this person's mouth, but I think I know the point that he was talking about, because there is a point where Jim Sterling had started to get tired. It's like he would see something going on, like let's say the loot boxes. He would call out these game companies about it, and he would get a lot of backlash from it, with people being like, oh, loot boxes are good for the community. And then 2 years later, the governments decided that loot boxes were gambling. So, and I've been seeing a lot of these videos where it's like, oh, these YouTubers were correct. I'm surprised Jim Sterling / Stephanie Sterling's not on those. Because she's even foreseen what's going on with the Switch 2. With like the game card, with the CD key cards. It's like you don't own the game, and she has said that years ago.
I think my reasoning then was that his content had become too repetitive, and due to his inability to appreciate when anything went well in the games industry. An example—
That's also wrong. She has stated several times in the past that good news doesn't get the clicks. It doesn't get the views. Only the bad news does. And then people bitch that she covers bad news. And then when she covers something good, like let's say, oh, what was it? That one simulator that she was going on about. That didn't make much views at all. I will go find that later and do a screenshot.
that stuck with me was a point where he spoke very positively about Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, and shortly after singing the game's praises, he then lamented how such a game was the exception rather than the norm, instead of just taking the win. And
she is correct. And I see this is before she changed her channel name to Stephanie Sterling.
now, in current year, he's, how do I describe it? You know that kind of person who has to be as eccentric as possible in order to claim the center of attention at all times? Yeah, he's that guy.
No.
I mean, just looking at how he presents himself makes that obvious.
So your problem is that she's happy. She's the happiest I've ever seen her. Like, throughout the whole YouTube, like... we're only in the introduction.
Oh, why check him out in current year if I'm not expecting anything insightful? Well, if nothing else, he's the textbook definition of pride, of acting like he's immaculate, to the point where criticism isn't an opportunity for growth or introspection, but instead a personal attack or something. Granted, he goes in on himself a few times in the video at hand, but anyone whose shtick at the end of a video is to say, "Thank God for me," needs a serious ego check. In fact, that's the source of my...
You are one of these people. The joke has gone over your head. Are you short? Are you too short to catch that joke? It's people like you that she says that. She doesn't actually believe that people are thanking God for her. She even mentioned once, a long time ago, while Jim Sterling, that's like, they say that because they said that once, and it pissed people off, so now that's their outro. It must have been the time that you stopped watching them.
My pity, as I went through a similar phase when I was a teenager and college student, and part of me wonders, given how stubborn I can be, if it's been wholly left behind. When looking over the videos he's made over the last year, the following title stood out to me: Games aren't good because they're addictive. Since I'm only a few months sober from my Satisfactory bender, and still play it somewhat frequently, that had me curious. And before someone asks, yes, that's the B-roll footage. The reason why a game is addicting can make a major difference. Whether it's just a straight-up Skinner box that you'd see with an idle or incremental game like Cookie Clicker, has effective gambling like a lot of mobile trash, or if it has that pleasing, just a bit more feel like with Satisfactory. That in mind, there is a useful conversation to be had regarding the topic, though my response to Jim Sterling's video is going to be structured differently from normal.
So, I am deciding to cut a lot of that out because he's doing a lot of his, like, talking about his own videos. But basically, he's covering the video about good games don't have to be addictive. And okay, this is going to be an interesting conversation we're going to have, so
I tried going through his video in chronological order, but the problem approaching it like that is that he repeats himself a lot, goes off on tangents that are either irrelevant or poorly paced, and overemphasizes virtually everything. To give it
Granted, but he's still entertaining. A lot more entertaining than A1 is.
an example, here's him describing the game at the center of this video as derivative.
As far as the gameplay itself, Eternum could have been called MMO, the MMO. It's such an MMO of a game, about as MMO as an MMO could ever be, MMOing its heart out with all the MMO-ness of the MMO-iest MMOs to have ever MMO'd. To call it derivative is to fully understate exactly how lacking in originality this thing is, how dated its systems and concepts are, what an unambitious and bandwagoning also ran this fucking thing is. I could detail some of the things that define New World's core gameplay, but I could just as readily describe RuneScape or Guild Wars, or any number of other MMOs that Amazon Games cynically mimicked in a bid to exploit as much money as it could out of the video game market. You haven't unlocked this skin, you need tokens. And all of this shit, all of this is fucking, that's their premium fucking currency. Just to make shit look like shit you already had.
Nearly a minute to tell you New World Eternum is unoriginal, with the only supporting evidence in the moment being a bit about the monetization that might not even be relevant, and which I, someone who hasn't played any of the games mentioned, has little context for.
The only thing that was repetitive in that was the repetitivity of being repetitive for repetitive's sake. And trying to make a joke on show how much repetition can be really, really irritating because it's just repeating the same repetitive. No, my brain shut down because I was repeating myself a lot.
All while the audio from the stream clip is lower than the volume he's speaking at for the main scripted section, as apparently he has time to have a bunch of silly images edited over the gameplay, but doesn't have time to do basic audio balance. Yeah, I'm not...
The audio's fine! Hold on, did you say under his speech?
It's being a bit about the monetization that might not even be relevant, and which I, someone who hasn't played any of the games mentioned, has little context for. All while the audio from the stream clip is lower than the volume he's speaking at for the main scripted section, as apparently he has time to have a bunch of silly images edited over the gameplay, but doesn't have time to do basic audio balance.
So, what you're saying is that you'd rather have the volume be higher or at the same level as the voice? Well, here's one of the videos, songs I've been working on, and if it's like at the same level as my voice, you can barely hear what I'm talking about. So, I think the audio volume was pretty good because I'd rather listen to him than listen to the audio. You edit videos, right?
Yeah, I'm not breaking this video down in chronological order, or this video will be more schizophrenic than Sterling's wardrobe. So, after we get through the intro...
I don't get it. More schizophrenic than... Is his wardrobe, like, afraid of things that don't exist? Are you saying that your video's afraid of things that don't exist? Oh, you mean bipolar. Gotcha. Yes, or even, hypermanic. We're still in the introduction!
Introduction, we're going to tackle his video by topic. That way we won't find ourselves bouncing back and forth between different points, and can more easily call out when he repeats himself or overemphasizes a point.
Too late!
And to ensure you can keep me honest if I take him out of context, I'll leave the timestamp for when a clip we're responding to begins in the bottom left corner.
Oh.
That in mind, let's get to that introduction.
That's
and
actually
already
cool.
I'm having to skip past some unrelated wrestling BS and his standard intro, which means the entire first minute is spent without even offering any setup for his arguments.
Well, I mean, that's granted, I'm skipping a lot of your shit.
In case it needs to be said, this is a terrible idea, as you never know when someone watching your videos is doing so for the first time. No wonder why you've been bleeding subs if this is all a newcomer has to greet them. Let's hope your actual introduction is up to snuff.
Vampire Survivors is great, isn't it?
It's a nice time waster, I'll grant you, and I see why people like it, though it's not something that grips me the same way a good Diablo-style game usually does. Though it also doesn't cost a whole lot, so well worth checking out if you haven't.
And I'm saying that as a completely unbiased reporter with no skin in the game whatsoever, so you know it's right.
Wait, don't tell me he was involved in the game at some point. Let me just go look something up, and wait, the game has writers? And you were one of them? I mean, sure, there are codex entries and whatnot, but that's not even a tertiary reason for why people play the game. I mean, good on you for getting that, I guess, and my condolences to the developers who had to put up with you.
Vampire Survivors.
You don't know her in person. I don't know her in person. Hell, she could be the loveliest person or the shittiest person. I don't know. All I know is that I see her on the screen and I like what she puts out. You have a whole hour long video talking about one, what was it, like 20, 30 minute? And now I'm going to have a long ass video because I'm reacting to your bullshit. Oh, but this is still the introduction!
Now, I'm biased when it comes to Vampire Survivors, having worked on it, but it is one of the many games to have nailed what we often call the just one more go factor, where you get so sucked into a satisfyingly compelling gameplay loop that you keep hanging on for one more round of enjoyment long after you planned to stop.
Alright, so we seem to be on the same page with respect to my satisfactory example. Let's see what else he has to say about it.
Vampire Survivors is one of the biggest modern examples of a game being praised for how addictive it is. In fact, that's precisely what the game was designed for.
Precisely what the game is designed for? That's a curious statement. Let's see what you do with that.
That
to
is?
provide the exact same kind of dopamine hit as an addictive slot machine, only without all the, you know, risk of financial ruin brought about by some horrifying abuser of a company attempting to exploit your compulsive behavior.
Given that you worked on a part of it, you likely have some extra insight into that, so for the sake of argument, we'll take that at face value. I admit...
No, we're not going to take it at face value. Games like that is designed to be addicting. It is the same, like, gameplay over and over and over again. You play through a level, you either beat it or you die, and then you start another level, you start back at level 1, and then you just do it again. This is the... Oh, you haven't studied games, have you?
Admittedly, I've never been to a casino, unless you count the game corners in older Pokemon games, but given all of the flashing lights and constant doling out of coins, weapons, and upgrades, I can see that being the case. And with your example of one of the loot chests being over-dramatic, yeah, that makes sense to me. I usually just skip past those animations nowadays, but fair enough. You even get a good dig in at the game we'll be talking about in a bit, so is there any more you wish to say for this?
Cough. Amazon. Cough. Amazon. Amazon. Games.com.
And you killed it.
No, that was actually funny.
Guessing you thought that was funny when you put it in, and I suppose there's no accounting for taste, but if you're going to be using such a loud border, constantly throw images on screen and have them move around, speak loudly and passionately about the subject, and then spend 15 seconds doing a terrible job of not so subtly pointing a finger at the counterexample, that's not a funny contrast, that's a jarring contrast.
And she got the point across.
You would have been better off leaning into the loudness of your video by just putting the image up and going Amazon into the microphone.
I'm not.
Or if you wanted to keep something more mellow as a contrast, you could have just put the image up and then muttered something like, say, unlike some companies. Or you could have just had a second or two of silence before carrying on as if nothing had changed, to throw us off. But that's enough talking about games that Jim Sterling thinks are good, because now we get to the game at the center of this mess, and which he spends a lot of time talking about, Eternum New World. Or New World Eternum according to the Steam page, though he uses the former order throughout the video. If memory serves, the game has had a rocky history, as one of Amazon's first attempts to break into the gaming scene directly, with it being an MMO that has had trouble figuring out what exactly it wants to be. A glance through the Steam reviews show conflicting messaging as far as how good it is, with some people demeaning the PvP while others like it, a mention about feedback being well integrated alongside someone claiming to have been permabanned just for not using the chat window. It's a grab bag of opinions that justifies the mixed reception marked on the Steam page. So, from an observer standpoint, Jim Sterling's hostility to the game isn't unexpected, as he doesn't seem to be the only person with a bone to pick. Though I'll be curious to see what kind of arguments he gives. If he is addicted to it, then in theory there's some aspect of it that's working, even if that something is a basic dopamine hit. So let's see what he has to say about it.
I can't stop playing Eternum New World. I am, in fact, writing this very script later than I'd intended because I was glued to Eternum New World, which is literally on my TV screen right now as I type this sentence. I've poured more hours into this game than I perhaps have any other, unable to stop playing it at all. Not even the release of other games, or taking a break to attend a Vampire Survivors party in London, or publishing the very game's review, which means I could be done with it, has given me enough distance for the experience to release its hold on my mind like it should. I am, in a word, addicted.
Okay, so it's something that really got its fangs in you. Any particular reason why?
I'm addicted to this game. Must be good then, right? It's gotta be if I'm that compelled to play it, yeah?
Well, maybe. Is there a reason buried in here somewhere?
Well, no. Eternum New World is not a good game at all. In fact, for all of my addiction to it, Eternum New World is fucking shit.
Okay. We've been here a minute now, so...
Okay, so we've been here for 16 minutes now. What do you have to say for that?
I will repeat. Any particular reason why? Please get to the point. This is starting to cross over from emphasizing the point to dragging it out.
You know, I do myself no favours. I really ought to, go to town or something if I'm going to leave this on when trying to write a script, because yeah, this will just keep happening, won't it? Yeah, I better go deal with this. Then maybe cut some trees for a bit. Maybe hunt a wolf or two. You know what? I'll just play this for a few hours and then I'll finish the script later.
Oh look, another point where you needlessly inserted something that drags the pace of the video down. You've already said that the game was running while you were writing the script. Showing that is then redundant to prove the point.
No, because the monster's sitting there just slapping him while he's AFK. Nothing's going on, so... That was kind of pointing out that they... I don't know how to word it. But it's obviously a gray con to him. He's level, 59 and that's 23. So it's just needlessly hitting him. And he has time to, figure out what he's gonna do in the game. Personally, it's like, if the monster can't kill you, just so weak, it should just not bother you. Because it's just really irritating to have to deal with a monster so it stops, just smacking you slightly.
To be clear, at 4 minutes and 29 seconds into your video, you've made 2 points. Vampire Survivors is an addictive game that's good, and New World Eternum is an addictive game that's bad, both of which have been purely surface level statements up to this point.
No, he actually did, provide pretty good, reasoning why Vampire Survivors was good. But he has to get into why this one is bad.
To offer a contrast, in my Satisfactory review, I was able to, in that time, give my introduction, lay the foundation for the game's premise, and explain through example how it manages to get that just a bit more kind of feel, while also bundling in important information, such as the fact that the game relies on 0 procedural generation.
Congratulations! Stephanie Sterling's reviews aren't like yours. It's satirical!
For its map. You could have covered so much ground by now, but apparently the phrase brevity is the soul of wit hasn't crossed your mind once in literal years.
Amazon's console-centric rebrand of an MMO that failed horribly when it came to PC in 2021 is absolute rubbish, and I've had to stress this fact a lot, because my inability to stop playing it might very well lead one to think it's actually entertaining in some way.
Do I need to turn this section into a Monty Python skit? Get on with it!
Every time I've talked about this game, I've made it loudly and plainly clear that my addiction is not an endorsement.
Get on with it!
And the more I've reiterated that, the more I've gotten to thinking about the language we use in video game discourse. Basically, New World Eternum has demonstrated to me that maybe we ought to stop using the word addictive as a positive note of praise when we're talking about video games.
See, this is why we're breaking up your video by section.
For a person that has an hour-long video, you have a short attention span. She's building up to it. God, give her a minute. For me, that's why her videos are interesting, entertaining. It's like, it's having a conversation rather than, alright, this game is good and this game is bad, here's the reason, 7 out of 10.
Because when I was first going through this video, my mind missed the whole statement on how we should maybe abandon a useful application for a word because you ran into a negative application for it. Because I was stun-locked on how we've still not been told what makes New World so damn addicting but still so damn bad. There's emphasizing the point, and then there's hammering the point in so hard that the wood you're hammering it into starts to splinter.
Right, now to do the best part of the game. Waiting.
Alright, first of all, respect to the self-promotion, as I can't get at you for that after talking about my Satisfactory review. Link in the description, by the way. You should be more confident about how you promote it, though. If you're confident, it'll be interesting. Instead of just saying, if you would like to check it out, as if people are interested, they'll show up without a need for that disclaimer.
I have playlists of games that I've played. If you're interested in checking those out, go for it. I'm not going to tell you that you should check it out or do it right now. No, if you feel like it, you feel like it. If you don't, you don't.
Otherwise, fair enough, go for it. Way, this isn't a useful clip, as it's an out-of-context moment where you're about to spend time waiting within the game. So, what are you waiting for? What's so mind-numbing about the game that you'd prefer to do the digital equivalent of watching paint dry? What relevance does this clip have, since it's sandwiched between points where you talk about the word addiction without going into too much detail on the game being discussed? Why does it feel like my time is still being wasted?
I have become far more addicted to New World than I was to Starship Troopers, and yet New World is an infinitely worse game. So much worse.
Please tell me you're about to go into some level of substance, or I might just have to record myself jumping off a cliff in Satisfactory, and then failing to use my jetpack.
I mean, sure, Starship Troopers crashed on me more times than was cool, but New World crashes so often that it's quite honestly I crashed then. It makes Bethesda games look stable, it's so prone to melting the fuck down.
Thank you! Was that so freaking hard? You gave us a concrete example of something New World has a problem with, contrasted it with both the Starship Troopers example and a company whose games are known for not being smooth sailing, and even got a well-timed bit of silliness in there for good measure. I'm quite partial to the flubbed line bit, in part because I feel the pain from messing up like that, and because there's an endearing aspect to it. That hey, I'm only human, I make mistakes, and I'm willing to go in on myself when I make them. If the rest of the video were like this, I'd have a lot less to complain about.
Hell, never mind Bethesda, Eternum New World crashes so much it makes me look stable.
And then you follow it up with another self-deprecating joke, which I can absolutely respect.
Did you get it? Did you get
Don't.
it? You know, because I'm severely mentally ill.
Don't.
And then you remind me why I'm making this video, because
Fuck you! I knew you were gonna do that. She's making fun of the people like you that's calling her mentally unstable. Goddamn stupid ass.
as apparently that rare moment of clarity was just as accidental as the flubbed line. You didn't need that. That wasn't funny. Why are you wasting my time on this?
I want to go back to Misgendering.
She's not wasting your time. You are wasting your time. If you don't like what you're watching, then don't watch it. Okay, we're 21 minutes in. Let's skip ahead to like the discussion on the word addiction, because I have a feeling he's going to go on for like what, 20 minutes on like 5 more minutes of her video.
And funnily enough, this is the last point in our New World Eternum Bat section, which allows me to neatly segue into a question one might be asking up to this point. What's stopping Jim Sterling from doing the same thing? If this game truly is as addictive as is claimed, if he really can't dislodge it from his brain even after reviewing it, if he has all these terrible things to say about it, why hasn't he outright uninstalled it or taken some other extreme measure to combat it? At what point?
Because it's addicting. Here's the thing. Bad things can be addicting too. People get addicted to alcohol. People get addicted to, like the hardcore drugs. People get addicted to being beaten. People get addicted to sitting at the screen, watching it, and growing fat. I think I might be addicted. Addiction doesn't mean it's good. There are good addictions. Like I say, spending time with your loved ones. That is addicting as hell. And as long as you don't, like, affect other people, and as long as it's not affecting your health, it's a good addiction. Schedule 1 has been addicting. Pal World is addicting. Pokemon is addicting. They're all really good games. When I was a kid, I was addicted to trying out every single game on this, like, 1,000 games disc. And there was this one where, at the beginning of the level, or game, they have you climbing ladders for no good reason. And there's this one part where you fall through the floor. I don't know if it was part of the game. Don't know if it was a glitch. I wanted to try to get past that, but I couldn't. I got so pissed off, I strangled the monitor to death. Literally. I grabbed the little stand and I shook it violently in anger, and it died. I strangled it to death. My family was not too happy. I had to pay for a whole brand new monitor. And not just replacing what it was. No. Bought a brand new one. Not really top of the line, but a really good one. Spent a lot of money on it. Then I couldn't play video games for a whole week. That was a bad addiction. Why was I addicted to trying to play those awful games? I don't know. It just felt like something to do.
Point do we go from saying Amazon shouldn't create games with these kind of mechanics that prey on people's addictive tendencies to saying I know all of these tricks and I'm letting myself fall prey to them? You're not an old grandma playing Candy Crush who has never seen another video game in her life. You do this for a living. Even if you have an addictive personality, you should know better and should be better than that.
But the problem is His job is reviewing games. Apparently, you should know. And he came across this bad game, and he's like, this is a really, really bad game. I'm not really enjoying it. I should, like, put it down. I got this mission I need to do. Let's go over here and do that real quick. I've done that several times with bad games. It's like, I don't want to continue this. This is making my brain hurt. But I need to do the next mission. I need to complete this. And that's what game developers are preying on.
If you can't even take personal ownership when a game gets the better of you and seem unwilling or unable to excise it from your life, how can you make any statement about the terrible state of monetization in the games industry when you're in some small way contributing to that by partaking in a game that you know is bad for you?
That's the problem! God, this guy. That's the goddamn problem of the whole situation.
There's guilty pleasures, and then there's hypocritical pleasures like this one. But in spite of that, maybe something insightful will be buried underneath all of this. So as the topic turns to the nature of the word addictive, let's see what you have to say for yourself.
And the more I've
For herself?
reiterated that, the more I've gotten to thinking about the language we use in video game discourse. Basically, New World Eternum has demonstrated to me that maybe we ought to stop using the word addictive as a positive note of praise when we're talking about video games.
Yeah, tough shit. There is no single person or group that holds or should hold domain over how language should be used.
I'm not touching that one. I am not. I mean, go ahead and tell me what you think about that statement in the comment section down below, but I am not touching that.
As words are only useful insofar as we all understand their meaning. The fact of the matter is that the way we use language will change depending on the context and how we change as people and a society. To offer an example, the term roguelike means something very different now than it did back when I was growing up. Originally, the definition was very literal. It's a game like Rogue, a turn-based dungeon crawler with procedural generation and merciless difficulty, due to luck screwing you over sometimes, and the fact that if you die, you have to start from scratch. However, when indie games began to apply roguelike elements to other genres, the term went with it as a shorthand. In common parlance, everything from Dungeons of Dreadmore to FTL Faster Than Light to Ziggurats to Hades is considered a roguelike, even though by the original definition, the only one of those I mentioned that's a traditional roguelike is Dungeons of Dreadmore. There were old-timers like Total Biscuit who coined the term rogue.
Hades is like a roguelike. At least I thought. Granted, I haven't played it, but...
light to describe those other games, and I do still use the term since I did play a couple old school roguelikes when I was younger, but for the most part, that's not a term people use, or may even be aware of. Even if I think the term is useful, roguelike and roguelite sound so similar to each other that it didn't catch on. Getting back on topic.
That it didn't catch on, you're an idiot.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with having one context in which addictive goes from a negative connotation to a positive one. In fact, one could argue it's excellent that it has both connotations. As much as I like Satisfactory, I have little intention to buy or play Factorio, because I know that will be an all-consuming entity that will completely destroy my schedule. The fact that we have a versatile word like addicting means I know, yes, these are great games that will sink their teeth into you to such a degree that you should approach them with caution. It is an incredibly valuable descriptor as both positive and negative. So no, I'm not going to stop using it to positively describe games like Vampire Survivors. If you want us to stop using it as such, the onus is on you to provide a more fitting term.
What?
Sure, you can figure that out as someone who claims to be a writer, though,
It's one of those overused bywords you see when it comes to game criticism, like satisfying or compelling, and other words I try to avoid using in my reviews but end up using all the time anyway because I'm a goddamn hack.
I know this is likely a joke, but all the same, you said it, not me.
Amazon has done one noteworthy thing with New World in that it's provided abject proof that an addictive game and a good game are absolutely not mutually exclusive things, even in the mind of the person who's addicted.
Is this video a first draft? Because I don't think the words you said line up with what you're trying to tell us.
No, that lined up pretty well.
What you're trying to say is that New World demonstrates that a game being addictive doesn't make it inherently good. But what you actually said is that the two descriptors are not mutually exclusive, which we already know, because the statement literally means an addictive game can be a good game. New World's use for that statement is merely providing the other side of that, namely that an addictive game can be a bad game. I realize this is some
Do you know what you're saying? Because you just said what she said.
semantics, but the words we use are important, and when I have to type out your statement just to disentangle the mess your first draft of a video left behind, you seriously needed to redraft that line.
Outside of video games, the concept of addiction is almost never associated with positivity. After all, if I told you I was addicted to hydrocodone, would you consider that a ringing endorsement?
Maybe not, but I might believe that if you said the same thing about Vampire Survivors, because it's safe to say that we're all aware of the difference between a substance abuse and an addicting core gameplay loop.
No, we don't! It works for A1, but not this guy. Look. People are addicted to bad things and think it's a good thing. That's how addiction works. There are people out there smoking meth and cocaine, and they're all like, oh, this is good. There's nothing wrong with this. My tooth came out again. That is literally a fucking thing I saw. Documentary. Now my head hurts. That was not a good idea.
I think that as a writer you'd understand the importance of context.
Would an addiction to a highly controlled and controversial painkiller be taken as a recommendation? Well, no, because it's kind of a given that an addictive substance is a kind of dangerous thing. And even if it's not an inherently bad thing on its own, being addicted to it certainly is.
Precisely. In fact, to go back to my earlier argument, that helps my case, because a painkiller can be very helpful if I'm dealing with a headache, but I wouldn't want to get addicted to same. In the same way, I can say all sorts of good things about FTL Faster Than Light, but if my addiction to it—
Okay, I am done with this guy. He just agreed with Stephanie Sterling at the same time disagreeing with her. I am done with this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm gonna say it. I didn't want to say it. He's taking a shit on the later years. I think because he transitioned. He has a nothing burger of an argument here. I mean, yes, sometimes, like, the pacing can be bad in your opinion, sure. But this is how Jim Sterling used to be. The only real difference is that Jim Sterling transitioned into Stephanie Sterling. And I think that's where your drop-off is. I didn't want to say it. But if you compare Jim Sterling's and Stephanie Sterling's videos, Jim Sterling had more of a blasé, like, standing at a podium, just talking about the stuff, being irritated. And you could tell. You could tell it on his face that he's just like, okay, I'm here. Stuff is going on. I'm passionate about it, but I can't really express it. And then, met his husband. He had to transition. Don't know in which order that is. And now she's a happy, fun going, like, oh, here's some goofy moments, and I'm just having fun with this now. Fuck you all, and thank God for me.